Well, now it's once again time for us to do a little work on our website project. And this time I'd like to add a fun interactive piece to one of our website pages. So let me close up the document we've been working on. And since we're going to be working on drag and drop, I'd like to go over here and open up our drag and drop file that we were working on before as a nice reference. So I'll drag it over to my text application and we'll open that one up. And then let's move over to our website project folder here at the end. What I'd like to do is take a few of these images that we have in here. We've got some puzzle piece Fisherman's Wharf images, and I'd like to create a little drag and drop puzzle. So let's go to the Fisherman's Wharf page. I'll just open that up in the browser first, and I think we can close our error console for the time being. And then I'll go ahead and open it up also in the text application program. And we can get started by putting our puzzle pieces in and making some changes to the HTML file. You can see out here on the website that we've got an assembled picture of the Fisherman's Wharf sign right on top of the paragraph that describes it. And what I'd like to do is replace this whole area with our puzzle. So let's go back to our HTML file, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit till we find the section here. That's where our paragraph is. And there you can see the current image that's placed in there. So I'm just going to get rid of that for now. And we'll replace that with the puzzle pieces. Now to keep everything together, I'm going to start off with a div tag to group my whole puzzle elements together, and then we'll add the puzzle piece images to that. So I'll just drop right below the title, and we'll add our div tag. And I'm going to set a class of puzzle on this. Now let me go down a few lines, and I'll close that div off. And then I'll go up and add an image tag inside of it. And the source should be one of our puzzle pieces. So let me just go over to my working files folder, and we'll take a look at the images that we have inside of our project. And I'll just copy the name of the first one here so we can set up the path in our HTML. We'll set source equal to Fisherman's Wharf Puzzle 1, and that was a PNG file. And we shouldn't forget also that this file is included inside of an images folder, so we have to add that to the path as well. Now I'll just close off that tag, and we'll just copy it and paste it 3 more times so that we can change that to our other 3 puzzle pieces. Then I can just change the number on the file name. Now in addition to our puzzle pieces, we also want to have a frame next to it so our user knows where they're going to assemble the puzzle. So let's go ahead and set that up as well. Inside the puzzle div, I'm going to add another div here. And we'll give this one a class of puzzle frame. And I'll go down a line or 2 and close that one up as well. Now to set that div up properly, we're going to go add a couple of styles. And instead of adding them to the styles document, I'm just going to add them up into a style tag right up here at the top inside the head. So I'll just make a line here, and we'll add a style tag. And of course a close style tag. And I'll start by adding a style just for the puzzle. So we'll do .puzzle for that class. And some grouping braces. And what I want for this one is just a height so that we leave enough room for all the puzzle pieces in here. So I'll put in height. And we'll set that equal to 380 pixels. Now I also want to set up the puzzle frame. So let's add in a style block for that as well. Now for this one, I want to have the frame pushed over to the right-hand side and big enough so that the full puzzle can be assembled. So I'll start that off by using a float, and we'll set that to right. I'll set a margin right of 40 pixels. And then I'll set a width of 200 pixels and a height of 298 pixels, so it matches the final image size. And finally, I'll add a border around it that's 1 pixel solid and black. We'll use the shortcut class style for that one, and I can set all the parameters in one area. And before we go any further, let's save our changes and let's see what it looks like out on the web. I'll go out to the browser and refresh that page. And there we can see our puzzle pieces all lined up in a row on the left-hand side, and our puzzle frame over here on the right-hand side. And it's all above our paragraph, which is down below. Now there's one more thing that I want to set up in the HTML, And that is some individual divs for the location of our individual puzzle pieces. And I'll drop them right inside this frame div that we created here. So let's go back to our document and we'll set that up. First, I'll scroll back down to the section tag where we were before, and inside that puzzle frame div, I'm going to add one more div for starters. I'll give this one an ID equal to div1, just so we can tell it apart from the others. And we'll go ahead and close up that div there, and simply make a copy and paste it in 3 more times so that we have 4 pieces. And once again, I'll just change the numbers so that they are each individually named with a number, div1, 2, 3, and 4. And we need a little bit of styling on these to set them up. So let's go back up to the top where we created our style tag. And right at the bottom here, I'll add a new style for the ID div1. We use # with that, and div1. And first of all, I'll just set a width and height. I've already measured all the puzzle piece sizes to match them up, and the width of the first one is 100 pixels, and the height is 167. Now I also want these divs to sit inside this frame here, so I'm going to make a couple of changes. First of all, I'll go to Puzzle Frame and I'll set the position property to relative. And if we don't specify any movement for that div or location, it'll sit right where it is. But that'll also set it up so that we can put a position of absolute for the items inside of that, and then we can position each one of the divs absolutely within the puzzle frame. So we'll go down to div1 and we'll set a position property of absolute. Now as you notice, I've made it kind of easy for our puzzle. I've only got 4 pieces, and each one of them is going to be pushed to either the top corner or the bottom corners of this div. For div1, I want to put that at the bottom right. So right after my absolute, I'll set it up with a bottom parameter of 0 and a right parameter of 0. And that will push it right to the bottom right corner. Now we need 3 more of these styles, and they're all going to be similar. So I'm going to copy this one, paste it in 3 times, and we'll just do some quick modifications for the other 3. First, the name. Set that up with div 2, 3, and 4. Next, we'll fix the width and height of each div. Div 2 should be 115 by 189 pixels. So we'll set that up. Div 3 should be 136 by 146. And finally, div 4 should be 123 by 167. And now that our target divs match the size of all of our puzzle pieces, let's set the position as well. Div 1 is in the bottom right corner, and div 2 should be in the top left. So we'll set that up. Div 3 is the bottom left, so we only have to change the right parameter. And then finally, div 4 is in the top right. And the last thing I want to do before we test this out is let's temporarily add a border around each one of these divs just so we can see them. I'll copy the border statement out of our puzzle frame style, and then I'll just drop it at the bottom of each one of these styles as well. Now let's save our changes, and let's go back out to the browser and see how it looks. Now you can see we've got these outlines in here that are shoved into the corners of the divs that we're going to be using as our targets. And now I think we're ready to add the JavaScript. So now let's go back over to our previous file for our drag and drop example. Here we wrote several functions that we called in order to enable the drag and drop function. And I might point out now that by using those event parameters and passing them on to the functions, we enabled these functions to work for just about any object we attach them to. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 3 functions that we wrote, and let's put them in an external JavaScript file. I'll copy them out of our drag and drop example, and I'll just make a new text file, paste them in, and we'll save this as puzzle.js. And I'll put it right into our website project folder. Now, just to keep things nice and tidy, I'll create a new folder just for any other JavaScripts we have associated with our site. And that way we can just toss them all in here. And I'll just call that folder JS. Here I'll name our file puzzle.js. Save it into that folder. And we can even go ahead and close that file. Now up in the top of our Fisherman's Wharf page, I'm just going to link out to that JS file we just created. So let's put it in the head, and I'll drop it in right before the style sheets and after the title. Doesn't matter where. We'll add in our script tag and set the source to our JavaScript file. Don't forget we put it into a JavaScript folder, so I'll add the JS in front of that. We'll close off our script tag. And now we've got those functions included with this HTML file. Now the other thing we had to do is we had to set up our drag objects with a couple of different function calls on events, and we also had to set up our target objects. So we're going to do that for each one of our elements in our Fisherman's Wharf page. First, let's do the images. For those, we added an ID, and we also added a draggable equals true attribute and an onStartDrag event call that called our drag function. So let me grab this part of it right out of our text and copy that. And we'll have two of the pieces. And I'll go back to our images that are in our Fisherman's Wharf page. We'll just add that right into the image tag. And I'll go ahead and put that in all of them, since they'll all need it. And then I'll go back and copy the ID setting out of here as well. I can paste that into each one of the images, and I'll just do that up front here. And just so we have different names for each one of our images, I'll add numbers at the end of the names. Now for our target divs, we added an ID, an onDragOver call, and an onDrop call. If I go back and look, we've already got IDs for ours, so I'll just copy the other two items, the onDragOver event and the onDrop event. Copy that, and we'll go back and put that into each one of those div tags as well. Let's save our changes and see what we've made. Now we've got the functions pulled in at the top in our JS statement from the file, and we've got all of our elements tagged. We'll just go refresh the browser, and now let's try out our puzzle. I should be able to grab any one of the pieces and just drag it over to the puzzle and drop it into a location. Now you can see that the puzzle piece snaps into the location I dropped it to, but if you're getting good at puzzles, you know that's not the right spot. So we can grab that and move it to another spot, and there it'll snap again. Now here you can see that the puzzle piece is in the right spot, and we can see that border outline so that the puzzle piece just fits into it. And if we want to work with the rest of the puzzle pieces, we should be able to drop them in place as well. And all we really need to do is get rid of these border lines. So let's just go back to our document and we'll finish it up for our users. I'll just go down to each one of those divs and we'll hide the borders. Now the div will still be there, but we won't be able to see the edges, and that'll make our puzzle look really nice. Let me just save that change, and let's go back out and try our page. Now when I refresh, we just have a normal frame over here, and we can assemble the puzzle however we'd like. And there we've managed to use the new drag and drop feature of HTML5 and a little bit of JavaScript to create a nice entertaining page.